Hello, welcome to Taxpayer Alert. I'm Al Segalla. I'll be your moderator. I'm also president of the Calaveras County Taxpayer Association, so you know we got interest in what's happening in local government. Now, each of our shows, we always have interesting and informed people. This is no exception. Our guest this time is Joshua Pack. He's our new Director of Public Works. And we've been watching the Board of Supervisors meetings for over 10 years now, and he's the best public official I've seen yet. So we're very fortunate to have him with us. We're going to learn a lot. Welcome.
Well, thanks for having me. And by the way, the $20 for the kind comments is in the mail.
One of the, probably the most important thing is your thoughts and your background. How'd you arrive at Calaveras County Public Works?
Yeah, it's kind of a circuitous route, right? I one of the things that drew me here was it's really near and dear to my background and my upbringing. So I started here in Nevada County. I grew up there, very similar to Calaveras County as far as rural foothills. Population is bigger, but not substantially so. A lot of the same ethics and the vein of family and just interests. All those things are real similar. So I grew up there, went to high school, and then started my migration as a young kid and young adult. Graduated from UC Davis with a civil engineering degree, and then spent the first about 10 to 15 years of my career in the Bay Area, bouncing around in the East Bay. Mostly public, some private time. And then as I started to have a family, I have a wife and 3 kids, twin boys that are now 10 and a daughter that's 6. I had an interest in kind of making a little more than being in the Bay Area. I wanted to have that rural quality lifestyle, wanted to have the same upbringing for my kids that I did. And so I had an opportunity back in Nevada County and was there for about 6 years as their principal civil engineer, essentially deputy director of public works. And as I started progressing and looking for opportunities to be a public works director, it was really important to me for some of the themes that are important to my life, access to the community, engagement with the community. I didn't want to feel like I was a cog. I wanted folks to feel that they can come up and chat with me, access to elected officials. I mean, all these things that are the best parts of a small rural area were important to me. And so when this one came up here at Calaveras, again, a lot of the same veins, things that are important to me, I find I share not only with the board and other folks at the county, but also with the residents. So I've been here a little over 4 months. It's been an absolute whirlwind. I love it. It's great. It's a great community. I've met a lot of really amazing people, a lot of interesting people, a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of work to do, a lot of projects that are really important, and we've got a great staff. We've got some great folks on board, and we're looking forward to getting a lot of good things done in the upcoming years.
Well, I really admire you. I hear what you say in front of the board, and also familiar with the challenges that you have, and you're just doing a great job. And you can pay me another $20 if you want.
Fair enough.
But anyway, this is really the truth. Now, the next item of discussion is Senate Bill 1, the gas tax.
Yeah.
And Senate Bill 1 and Proposition 6 was organized to oppose that and repeal it.
Yep.
It didn't happen, so it passed. Mm-hmm. And they give us a lot of money. Yeah. And it's going to take a lot of money from the taxpayers, and it's going to increase as we go by. What's your thoughts on that puppy?
Yeah, and as someone who the value of the wise use of taxpayer dollars, it resonates strongly with me. So it's something when I do projects and programs, I don't like wasting money. I treat it like my own money, right? I don't overspend. I don't want to invest in bad ideas or bad programs or projects. So, a lot of the opposition that I've heard, it resonates strongly with me, right? I want to be able to do more with what we have and not have to ask for more. So the history of it and why it helped us, and I speak a little bit. My experience is in Nevada County. We're very similar to here in Calaveras County, where historically road maintenance activities, especially in rural counties, are funded through the gas tax.
Right.
And so it's a surcharge on gasoline. And that tax had not changed much since 1997. Right. So imagine, and over time, as the amount of trips started increasing, more and more vehicles are going to and from work. People are driving further. It kind of masked the issue of your actual not having an increase in that tax. And so when the recession hit and a lot of people were out of work and you saw just a downturn in just vehicle trips, we started seeing a significant downturn in revenue. When the economy came back, a lot of people bought cars, and that's fantastic. We love when people buy new cars. The new cars they're buying are Prius, Volts, cars that get a lot more gas mileage than what they were trading in. So we saw, as transportation professionals, not only did we have a 20-year run of revenue not increasing, or the inflationary rate not really keeping up with inflation. But then when the recession hit, we saw a downturn. So the position I was in a rural county, we were pretty close to starting to make some pretty large layoffs. It was one of those things where it was keeping me up at night, because the last thing I want to do is to tell someone that they don't have a job. And we had cut every possible non-mandatory program we could. Our pavement was falling apart, and that was tough for us. So in April 2017, Senate Bill 1 came along. It did provide funding for those opportunities. It starts bringing us back into a condition where over the long term, our pavement can get in better shape. And just for your taxpayers' knowledge, roads are the single largest investments that any agency has, more than an individual building, more than anything else. The value of the roads and the importance to their community, and the connecting us to each other and to our services, is as important as anything we have.
If the state had restricted the expenditures under our gas tax to road creation and maintenance, would there have been a need for SB1?
Yeah, and so that's the thing is the way the funding was in 1997. It was created. It was fine. It wasn't necessarily that the gas tax was a bad mechanism. The problem was that increase had never gone up. It's much like when we work. Each year we see a lot of times a cost of living adjustment, or maybe we get a raise or something like that.
Funds being diverted diverted away from roads to other purposes, railroads and whatever.
And that's something that everyone has their own. You come to a rural area, and obviously vehicles are extremely important. They're the lifeline of what we do. In other parts of the state, there's other things that maybe take greater precedence. Whether it's in the Bay Area, BART was a huge way for us to get around using Bay Area Rapid Transit, or whether it's transit or so. Everyone, I think anyone you can find is going to find flaws with how that money's spent, because each agency, each region's a little bit different. So, short of chopping up the state into 57 separate parts, one for each county, this is the model we have. And so, I agree. There's ways I'd spend it. As someone who realizes in a rural area that we need a lot of money to maintain our infrastructure. We're not going to have an overly robust transit system like you see in downtown San Francisco. We're not going to have a robust bicycle network. There's just too much. There's too many difficulties to get there. So I agree. I'd like to see, things diverted away from rail and from transit to us. But I think you'd see other folks throughout the state argue a little bit different, especially the importance of rail for freight and et cetera.
Was BART funded by gas tax?
BART was not funded by gas tax, and this is probably a little beyond my purview. There were some special fees.
Bonds.
There was some bonds as part of that as well.
That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So, kind of piggyback. So over the next 10 years, the Senate Bill 1's going to promise about $4.5 million each year for Calaveras County roads, which is a much needed investment. Proposition 6 came. Proposition 6 was to repeal the gas tax.
Right.
The interesting thing that the thing that I found interesting is statewide it failed, and it failed by a 57 to 43 margin. When you look closer at Calaveras County, the numbers are quite a bit different. The numbers show that 6 out of 10 voters voted to repeal the tax.
Right.
And so what that tells me, as someone who's using this tax, who's getting this each year, is I have a duty to the taxpayers, to my staff and
We
the
have to follow the law.
department.
You have to follow the law.
Yeah, we have to. Well, it's not only following the law. We have to find the best possible use for this funding as possible.
Right.
There is a mistrust, and rightfully so, of government and how they spend taxpayer dollars. And so, one of the things we're doing is and you've seen some of that through the creation of our capital improvement program, through some of the outreach we've been doing, is to educate and inform the public of how we're spending their money. And over the next 6 months to a year, we have 2 different programs that are moving forward to really clarify the best way to spend that money, to ensure that this investment we're making is in the interest of the entire county, not necessarily for one particular road or one particular neighborhood, but for the county as a whole.
Capital improvement program, 5-year improvement plan.
Mm-hmm.
God, you're organized. that is so cool.
You have to be, and this is the thing is, and it's a good segue from the SB1 discussion to a plan. And so, we love plans, right? Engineers love plans, and government loves plans. But a capital improvement program, a capital improvement plan, that's our roadmap to what we're going to do to build projects over the next 5 years.
Right.
And historically, Calaveras County Public Works has been a little hit and miss with the way we've presented that to the board and to the public. And in recent years, we haven't done it. And so one of the things I saw coming here as an important first step in kind of getting on this track of aggressive project delivery is to have a program that not only the board but the public can see. It's no longer necessarily, not that we were shrouded in mystery or trying to hide things. It's just when you've got a lot of stuff going on and maybe you've got 10 things to do and only time to do 5, it doesn't fall into the priorities the way it probably should.
Does the capital improvement program include major items like bridges?
It does. So our program,
like O'Byrne's Ferry Road.
O'Byrne's Ferry can be, and I'll talk a little bit about O'Byrne's Ferry. But we have 34 projects in the program over the next 5 years.
Okay.
The total amount of funding is about $77 million.
Okay.
That's for a rural county. That is a massive amount of funding.
Right.
Now, most of the funding is federal grants and other programs, bridge programs. We have 14 bridges that we're building over the next 5 years. About 90% of our program is buoyed by federal grants. So It's the lifeblood of improvement projects. We don't have most of our local funds, especially the SB1 gas tax dollars. That goes to road maintenance. That's right where it's needed. There's fortunately one of the best things about working in a rural county is you don't have 6-lane arterials that are clogged or freeways that are clogged. If you get I saw this the other day. If you have a couple of cows crossing the road and you're sitting there waiting for 20, that's a traffic jam. It's a wonderful part of being part of Calaveras County. We focus our local dollars on core maintenance and safety projects, and then we can focus the federal funding on a number of projects. Bridge projects, like I said, we have 14. O'Byrne's is not in that list. It can be in the future. I'm happy to talk more about that particular location. We have road safety projects. We have a couple that are coming on board in the next year or two I'm really excited about. They're very unsexy projects. They don't look good on a piece of paper, but they're in the long run, they'll result in significantly reduced collisions on our roads over the next 5 years or over the upcoming future. So, again, it's a program that when we talk with the public and we talk with the board, and we want to share what we want to do. We won't buy off from the public and from the board. We want folks to know what we're doing. We're proud of what we're doing, but we also want to check in and going, does this meet with your core vision and mission of the county? Do these projects resonate with you? Do they resonate with the general plan? Do they resonate with neighborhoods? By doing that, you get a certain amount of buy-in, and I think that bodes really well for projects. In particular, if you have a project that may not be universally accepted or beloved, sometimes we have to do things that while on the grand scheme work really well for the county, they have impacts on local neighborhoods or individuals, and we have to be cognizant and sensitive to those impacts.
Right.
So it's something I'm really excited about. I know my staff's been really excited about it. I've had 2 folks on my team team, Mark Kenzalak and Jen Ellis, have been absolutely instrumental in working with me to get that project developed, the CIP program delivered. We'll be delivering the final version to the board on March 12th is my hope.
All right.
So if anyone's interested in seeing what the program is, what projects are in there, I'd encourage you to check out that meeting. Also, our website, if you go to calaverascounty.gov, go to the Department of Public Works website. Right on the front page, you can download the information, see every project we're planning on over the next 5 years. I think it's going to be a lot of activity on our roads and a lot of weight. Unfortunately, that's part of construction. But
you mentioned a general plan. Will a general plan specify bridge construction?
Yeah, the general plan doesn't get into that sort of specificity. It will. There is a circulation element as part of that kind of identifies the goal tenets of our county. This plan meets that, but when you start getting into the specifics of which projects, which programs, it establishes a framework, but doesn't get down into those sort of weeds to identify a project by project basis, unless there might be an overarching massive project that the county's gotten behind. That may be on a case-by-case basis, but generally speaking, the CIP is more, the general plan is kind of the 50,000-foot level document, and then the CIP is more of the weeds. It's more getting into the specifics of here's the vision of circulation, here's how we're meeting that vision with the programs and projects we're delivering.
It's like the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit like the same sort of thing, or a specific plan. Kind of the same thing. They're just different layers of the government onion, so to speak.
Okay. What are some of the key projects that you see coming up in the next 5 years?
So the first one, and I talked about the Senate Bill one, and I'm going to tie that a couple more times probably, is our pavement preservation program. This new funding's in place. As I mentioned, one of the big elements of Senate Bill 1 is you have to invest your money in road projects. You can't go spend it on other things that aren't related to core safety, core maintenance, core things to your agency. So we'll be investing in our infrastructure. We'll be investing in roads. What those roads are is interesting. We're actually in the process of doing a comprehensive pavement study to get us the numbers. We need concrete, hard numbers of what condition our roads are, exactly how good or how bad they are, and the sort of treatment we need to bring them up to a satisfactory condition, and the ability to prioritize that. Because if you talk to someone in Copperopolis, they're going to tell you that their roads are the worst. And if you talk to someone in Moke Hill, they're going to tell you the roads in Moke Hill are the worst. And you talk to someone in Railroad Flat or in Arnold or Dorrington, they're all going to tell you their roads are the worst. So with everyone telling you that their road is the worst, how do you pick which roads to actually pave? How do you prioritize some roads over the other?
There's a particular supervisor in each district that's fighting for their district.
And rightfully so. That's their job, is to fight for their district. So and so how do I do that as someone who reports to 5 board members? How do I do that? And so the way to do that is exactly how we do this, is we come up with a thoughtful and intelligent plan that outlines over the next 5 years the investments we need to make into our roads. And by doing that and laying that out in a thoughtful manner, my hope is that when folks see it, let's say if folks in Arnold see their roads may not be done in year 3, but they know that that it's coming. They see what's done before. They see the reasoning why. Most folks are pretty reasonable. They understand, and when you have so much more demand than there is supply, you can't serve everyone at the same time. But if they see a plan that, yes, we're going to get served, it may not be in year 1, but it might be in year 3 or year 4. Most people are pretty reasonable, and so that's the hope with that.
What about a 20-year plan?
20-year plan is could certainly be done, and that's part of this 5-year plan. Is it does look out further than that. So the reason you don't look out too far is because first of all, the cycle of road and maintenance sometimes isn't much longer than 5 or 6 years. On a busy road, a resurface will last 5 to 7 years. The other thing is things change, and so when you look so far out, it's kind of like the further you look off on the horizon, the more blurry it gets. So 5 years tends to be pretty good. The roads are all in the program, and so as we complete roads, we bring new roads up that maybe are in year 6 or 7. In reality, it is a 20-year program, because in reality, if we're doing things right and we have the sufficient funding and the programming, every road should be touched every 20 years, period. Even if you have a brand new surface on it, even for a smaller road, 20 years is usually the window before you have to touch it again. So in reality, even though we're calling it a 5-year plan, in reality it's a 20-year plan. So and then we just adjust it each year as things change or things as we need to adjust.
One of the things that you do is patch potholes,
Yep.
and it's very important, especially if you run over one.
Yes.
You remember. Well, anyway, I wonder if there's been some new ways of doing that, patching it that are more efficient, and like maybe a quick set mortar with that's stained black, or I don't know if that's real or not, but where a crew can go in there and have that patch, being able to drive on it quickly.
They do. They make a product called Hydro Patch, and so it works fairly well. The issue you have on a pothole in the winter is when a pothole shows up, it's indicative of issues below the surface.
Right.
It's not necessarily on the surface. So a lot of times you can't fix the subsurface issue because whether it's drainage or things are soggy or just a general mess. So when you see a pothole, we know it's not a permanent pothole fix. We know that it's going to be there for, if we're lucky, it'll be there for the season, for the winter. And then when you come back in the spring and summer when things dry out, that's when you do it permanently. So most of the time when you see pothole fixes, they're not meant to be for 5 or 10 years. They're meant to be, especially in the winter, they're meant to be a couple of months, maybe 6 months.
Except for Skunk Ranch Road.
Except for Skunk Ranch Road, exactly. So that's definitely something we do every day. It's something that's core to our hearts, that's core to our services. When we talk about core maintenance and safety activity, that's the bread and butter of what we do.
Right.
And we have a great road crew. I could spend another half hour talking about those guys.
Incidentally, I forgot to do this in front of the Board of Supervisors, but I can do it now. I am so thankful for our PG&E people that go out in the storm and fix those wires, and also our road crews that keep the roads open, particularly in the snow. And they're brave people, and they're pluggers, and they need to have recognition, and now they have.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, they do. And just to lay it out, over the last month, we've worked basically 24-hour shifts every day.
Wow.
And so having guys are afraid. I mean, I was chatting with the road superintendent earlier today, and the guys are tired. The guys are, going, and usually we do 12 hours on, 12 hours off, but to do 12-hour shifts basically every single day. And the overtime's great, and that's wonderful, but just, the amount of effort to go into that is not easy work. And the combination of recent weather has been daunting. Everything from low-level snow activity, the amount of snow up in the Arnold, Dorrington, Glencoe areas has been near historic. You have all the flooding issues we've had with storm levels that have somewhat emulated 2017. You have all this, combination of factors, and I can't grow 25 new road crew members overnight. Hiring one is sometimes an act of Congress just to get one. And so a lot of times it's trying to do more with the same, or, trying to provide those services. Our guys do a fantastic job. I know there's things we want to get to that we just can't. We have to prioritize things, and core safety and emergencies are always number one. So, whether it's snow removal, whether it's down trees, flooding.
Speaking of trees, we had a case from BLM not being a responsible property owner. They allowed their trees to fall on county roads. The cost is like $300,000, and you're charged with maintaining those roads. So you had to do it, and our taxpayers are going to have to pay for it. And but the federal government should be paying for that, and should in the future take care of their property.
I agree, and and I want to say too that this is the Bureau of Land Management, BLM. Right. We have other federal partners out there, the U.S. Forest Service. They're pretty good partners. We don't, we work pretty well together. Little issues here or there, but they're pretty good partners. BLM, and I don't want to harp too much on the local folks. They're trying,
they're good people.
They're good people, especially the local folks. But, there's just a policy, and this isn't unusual to Calaveras. In my prior time in Nevada County, I've had I kid you not, I've had the same tree. One time, them go out and tell us that's your responsibility,
right.
And then you start removing it down, and they come threatening fines because it's their tree. And so you can't have your cake and eat it too. So I know the Taxpayers Association has been helpful in trying to get the reimbursement for that. That project will start here in the coming weeks here on a number of roads, primarily on Jesus Maria and West Murray Creek and a couple of other roads. But yeah, we're continuing to make efforts to get reimbursement. We've been working through a legislative representative. We're hoping to engage McClintock's office to help us with that, and have in the past. So we're continuing to make that effort. I think with efforts that folks like you are doing as well to bring light to this, and it's frustrating, especially when there's a message out there that shares that, what's California doing with all those wildfires? You're not taking care of your lands, and then, a high percentage of the lands are federally owned, and they're some of the worst culprits. So what we'd like to see is just take care of your property, so that, we have enough to do with our own property, with county-owned roads to take care of it, that we're having to kind of jump out. It's frustrating because, I can't pass the buck. I can't tell Joe Resident,
you got to fix that road.
Yeah, that's our responsibility, and we step up and we do that. So it's frustrating, but at the same time, we need safety's core, and so we're moving forward with a project to remove trees on BLM property, and we'll be doing that here in the upcoming month or so. They're trees that were all hit by the Butte fire. They're a safety issue, and they're an emergency. They come down every day that we're not out there bringing them down, and there's a risk that one of them could fall on a family, could fall on a road affecting access in case of an emergency. They need to be removed. So we're in the process of doing that.
Now, My Calaveras County online. This is something that you invented for our county.
Yeah, and we're in the process of doing that. So this is something I'm excited about, and I'm going to geek out. I'm going to warn you here. I'm going to geek out on this thing.
Well, you got 2 minutes.
I got 2 minutes. So in the upcoming months, we're going to be presenting a new online platform where residents can issue service requests, engage with the county in a whole new way. Brings us into the 21st century. Mobile phones, both iPhone and Android users will be able to use this. And basically, if they have a pothole, if they have a drainage issue, if they have vegetation issues, currently they have to call us, and we call them back, and then we schedule it, and they lose track of the request. So they don't know what the status is. Sometimes we can't get to things right away. This system brings government, brings public works, brings Calaveras County to their phone. So they can log in, see the status of their service request. They can see what's going on in real time. When the request gets done, they get an automatic email so they know it's done. We, as managers, I can track requests, see what's going on, so I know stuff's getting done. When it's not getting done, I can follow up with staff. It's an amazing tool. I used it in Nevada County. It won a California State Association of Counties award for merit. I'm bringing an improved version of that here, and we'll be presenting that to the board in the upcoming months, and I'm really excited about it.
Well, I tell you, we're excited too. And you're such a pleasure to have on our show.
Pleasure's mine.
One of the things that we really enjoy and at the Board of Supervisors meetings is to see it well run and to see experts come up with solutions. And we're looking at that now. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.